Alola everyone, Martin here, and welcome back to another Top 10 video. This time, we're continuing our little chain. We're back with Pokémon.
Sunshine, burning super bright. I'll show you my passion to face any fight. Sun, moon, dreaming through the night. I'll show you my courage to take flight. Yeah.
If you missed the previous Pokémon list, click my channel to check them out. But now, let's move to the Alola region. Some basic rules for the list. Number 1 is obvious, but only the 86 Pokemon introduced in Gen 7 will be counted. And by technicality, and mentioned in my Gen 1 list way back when, Alolan Pokemon will be counted for this list as well. 2. This is based on my personal time with these Pokemon, i.e. training, using them throughout the game, etc. And 3, remember that this is my own personal list, so if your favorite one isn't on here, how about putting your own list in the comments below? With all that out of the way, let's get started. It's your boy. The Pokemon with a shell as hard as diamonds, as well as a signature Pokemon of Guzma, Golisopod, starts off this list. While I didn't fully use Golisopod until one of my moon runs, it certainly showed its power often when in battle. With the high physical stats, it can take a pretty hard beating. But it won't exactly be going first often in battles, and with 2 of its 3 weaknesses being usually fairly fast, that poses a small problem. But with its ability Emergency Exit, it can duck out of battle when its HP gets below half. Now, let's get to the attacks. From level up, we have moves like Fury Cutter, Rock Smash, Sucker Punch, Razor Shell, Pin Missile, Mud Shot, Liquidation, Struggle Bug, and what used to be its signature move, First Impression. For TMs, we got moves like Rock Slide, Brick Break, Dive, Payback, Shadow Claw, Assurance, and Giga Impact. There's also some breeding and tutor moves like Aqua Jet, Metal Claw, Roll Out, and Skitter Smack. And for TRs, there's moves like Leech Life, Waterfall, Close Combat, Poison Jab, X-Scissor, Iron Head, Drill Run, and Throat Chop. While it may have a lot of physical strength and a fair amount of moves, but the only one time I've used it, it couldn't make it that high on the list. Well, you know what they say. Just follow your nose. The final evolution of the beginner bird Pokemon of the Alola region, Toucannon, takes my number 9 spot. If anyone started Sun or Moon for the first time, this was probably one of the first new Pokemon seen in the games. I mean, Trumbeak was the first new one I saw on it, so seeing what the final evolution of Pikipek was certainly a surprise to see. With the attack stat being the highest it has, and the other stats being fairly even, it's not too bad to have on a beginning team. And with the usual weaknesses and immunities for a normal flying type, that part isn't anything too new for Pokemon fans. Now, let's move on to the attacks. From level up, we have moves like Rock Smash, Pluck, Roost, Drill Peck, Bullet Seed, Hyper Voice, and its signature move, Beak Blast, which charges at the start of the turn and attacks at the end. But any Pokemon that make contact with it in that time gets burned. For TMs, we got moves like Aerial Ace, Flame Charge, Smackdown, Brick Break, Steel Wing, Overheat, U-Turn, Fly, and Flash Cannon. With some breeding and tutor moves like Boom Burst, Brave Bird, Gunk Shot, Heat Wave, Seed Bomb, and Sky Attack. Toucannon is a great Pokemon, especially for being the beginner bird of Alola, but I only used it on the one team in Sun, so I couldn't connect with it more than that. I still like it though.
All your heart and soul, just give it all you got and shout it out, Alola.
But it's Christmas!
The one of only 2 Ultra Beasts that's a singular type, Xurkitree, takes my number 8 spot. Not gonna lie, this was probably one of the most annoying Ultra Beasts to capture in my game. But once I managed to catch it, it certainly made sense why it was so difficult. With having the highest special attack of all electric type Pokemon, it can really deal a lot of damage. And with the pure electric typing, it only has the one weakness of ground. Now, let's get to the attacks. From level up, we have moves like Shockwave, Signal Beam, Thunderbolt, Hypnosis, Ingrain for healing, Thunder Wave, Discharge, Magnet Rise, which can get rid of its one and only weakness for 5 turns, Pyro Whip, Thunder Punch, and Zap Cannon. And for the added shock, it can learn the move Tail Glow, which raises the special attack stat by 3 stages, so that's certainly a plus for getting some damage in. For TMs, we got moves like the Sunny Day Solar Beam combo, Volt Switch, Electro Web, and Charge Beam, which can help increase the special attack stat even more. There's also a tutor move from the expansion pass, Rising Voltage. And for TRs, we have moves like Energy Ball, Electro Ball, Grass Knot, Wild Charge, and Dazzling Gleam. For as powerful as Xurkitree is, it didn't really have much use for me aside from some stuff in the battle tree. But I can say it's my favorite Ultra Beast from Gen 7.
All your heart and soul, just give it all you got and shout it out, Alola.
This next Pokemon is way past cool. A Sandslash that adapted to the freezing weather, Alolan Sandslash takes my number 7 spot. This one was a fairly recent favorite, as I used it in my Let's Go Pikachu run along with the Cantonian Sandslash, and it surprised me how useful it was throughout the run. Compared to a Cantonian Sandslash, it takes a small bit away from the special attack and adds it into the defensive stats. And it still retains the 3 weaknesses and 1 immunity, but it has 8 resistances instead of 2, and the fighting weakness is now at ×4. So a bit of a good with the bad situation. Now, let's get to the attacks. From level up, we have moves like Rollout, Rapid Spin, Icicle Crash, Metal Claw, Fury Cutter, Iron Head, Icicle Spear, Gyro Ball, Hail, and Blizzard. For TMs, we got moves like Ice Punch, Rock Slide, Dig, Pin Missile, Avalanche, Bulldoze, and Shadow Claw. There's also some breeding and tutor moves like Crush Claw, Night Slash, Counter, Steel Beam, Steel Roller, and Triple Axle. And for TRs, we have moves like Earthquake, Leech Life, Iron Tail, Poison Jab, X-Scissor, Drill Run, and Throat Chop. Alolan Sandslash was a surprising addition to the list since it was added after the initial setup was done. But since it was only so recent, it couldn't make it that high on the list. I still like it though.
All your heart and soul, just give it all you got and shout it out, Alola.
Let's snuggle. Forever. The Pokemon who just wants some friends and dons a Pikachu's likeness in hopes of doing that, Mimikyu takes my number 6 spot. Yeah, this one had to be on the list somewhere. The amount of effort put into the background of this little Pokemon is certainly something to behold, and most likely tear up if you really start to think about it. Just read the Pokedex entries if you want to know more. Okay, back to the entry itself. Mimikyu's disguise is used as its ability of the same name, to tough out through the first attack it takes in battle, giving it a free move to either attack or raise stats. But it only works the one time. Pokemon with abilities that ignore abilities can hit right through it, and it has to repair the broken neck to disguise at night, with it being so difficult to get perfect that it cries inside, so I hope you feel happy with yourself, you monster! And if you break the disguise, it will not forgive you and hunt you down to exact its revenge. And it has fairly good stats to do that with. Special defense is the highest stat it has, with speed and attack not being too far behind. And with the Ghost Fairy typing, it has 3 immunities and only 2 weaknesses to deal with. Now, let's get to the attacks. From level up, we have moves like Shadow Sneak, Slash, Shadow Claw, Wood Hammer, and Play Rough. For TMs, we got moves like Thunder Wave, Giga Drain, Will-O-Wisp, Payback, Hex, Draining Kiss, and Phantom Force, with some breeding and tutor moves like Curse, Destiny Bond, Grudge, and Burning Jealousy. And for TRs, there's moves like Shadow Ball, Psychic, Swords Dance, Leech Life, Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam, X-Scissor, and Dark Pulse. And I can't go without mentioning its signature Z move when used to Play Rough, Let's Snuggle Forever. Mimikyu is a cute Pokemon with a sad backstory and some great battle capabilities, but sadly, it couldn't make it much higher than this.
You have failed this city.
The final evolution of the grass starter Pokemon Rowlet, as well as my first starter in Pokemon Moon, Decidueye, takes my number 5 spot. While arriving at the Rowlet party a bit late, my first playthrough in Moon was my first time with Rowlet, and it was one heck of a Pokemon throughout the game. With a high attack and special stats, it can really do some damage against the opponent. And with the change from Grass Flying to Grass Ghost when it evolves, based on the still owl from Hawaii, which is extinct, it gains 2 immunities at the cost of having 5 weaknesses. Now, let's go over the attacks. From level up, we have moves like Peck, Shadow Sneak, Razor Leaf, Pluck, Sucker Punch, Leaf Blade, Phantom Force, Brave Bird, and its signature move, Spirit Shackle, which prevents the opponent from switching out. For TMs, we got moves like Steel Wing, the Sunny Day and Solar Beam or Solar Blade combo, Shadow Claw, U-Turn, Psycho Cut, Hex, Acrobatics, Low Sweep, and Air Slash, with some tutor moves like Dual Wing Beat, Grassy Glide, Poltergeist, Skitter Smack, Grass Pledge, and, of course, Frenzy Plant. And for TRs, we got moves like Shadow Ball, Seed Bomb, Energy Ball, Grass Knot, and Hurricane. And I can't go without mentioning its signature Z move when used to Spirit Shackle, Sinister Arrow Raid. Decidueye is a pretty good Pokemon, and not a bad starter to choose for your journey in Alola, but I've only used it the one time in Moon, so it couldn't make it much higher than this. I still like it though. We're gonna need a bigger bag. The mascot for Pokemon Sun and the half mascot for Pokemon Ultra Sun, Solgaleo, takes my number 4 spot. After seeing it revealed for the first time, my first reaction was pretty much a lot of other people's reactions. Why is it Steel type? But it's actually a reference to the alchemical lion, which is often described as devouring the sun, thus to Pokedex entries, and is often connected to metals, thus to Steel typing. And with the actual mascot legendarity of the game, being part of the adventure without knowing it until later was actually really cool. I mean, this little nebula throughout the game was being chased for its power, and is actually the main mascot for the game. And it's also one of the few legendaries to be able to evolve. And once it gets there, it's one heck of a legendary. With the highest stats of attack and HP, with the other stats being not too shabby, it can really deal some heavy damage. And thanks to the Steel typing, it has 9 resistances and 1 immunity, but it does have 4 weaknesses, so let's try and deal with them with some attacks. From Level Up, we have moves like Iron Head, Zen Headbutt, Crunch, Wild Charge, Solar Beam, Flare Blitz, Metal Claw, Giga Impact, and its signature move, Sun Steel Strike. For TMs, we got moves like Sunny Day to help with Solar Beam, Rock Slide, Fire Spin, Bulldoze, Rock Tomb, and Mystical Fire, with some tutor moves like Expanding Force, Meteor Beam, Steel Beam, and Steel Roller. And for TRs, there's moves like Earthquake, Psychic, Flamethrower, Outrage, Iron Tail, Superpower, Gyro Ball, Close Combat, Heavy Slam, Stone Edge, Heat Crash, and Psychic Fangs. And even after all of that, it still has its signature Z move when used with Sunsteel Strike, Searing Sunrays Smash. In terms of being the mascot of the game, Sogoale certainly does a good job of having that legendary title. But in terms of favorites, it just couldn't beat the rest. I still like it though.
All your heart and soul, just give it all you got and shout it out, Alola.
I took a real liking to this one. The wolf Pokemon that's different depending on when it's evolved, Lycanroc, takes my number 3 spot. This one I feel like a lot of people have as a favorite, and I'm not an exception. I used all 3 on a team at least once, and it was a great Pokemon each time. And for having different forms, they each have their own stats and move pools. Their stats are very similar, with attack and speed being the highest, but they're all still slightly different. Midday and Dusk are nearly identical, with 2 points of speed being put into attack, but Midnight form has the most change, with a lowered speed, but the defensive stats get a boost. But since they're all pure rock types, they all have the same 5 weaknesses. Now, we get to the moves, which are all slightly different between the forms as well. From Level Up, some attacks they all share are Bite, Rock Throw, Rock Tomb, Roar, Crunch, Rock Climb, and Stone Edge. But some unique ones are that the Midday form can learn Quick Guard, Quick Attack, and its signature move, Accelerock. Midnight form can learn Reversal, Taunt, and Counter, and the Dusk form can learn both Accelerock, Counter, and Thrash. For TMs, some attacks they all can learn are Rock Slide, Thunder Fang, Fire Fang, Stomping Tantrum, Snarl, and Brick Break. Some unique TMs are that the Midday form can learn Swift and Assurance, while the Midnight form can learn Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Revenge, Mega Punch, Payback, Low Sweep, and Mega Kick. Midnight form can also learn the move Lash Out via Move Tutor. For TRs, some attacks they all can learn are Iron Tail, Close Combat, Earth Power, Iron Head, Zen Headbutt, Play Rough, and Psychic Fangs. Some unique TRs are that the Midday and Dusk form can learn Drill Run, the Dusk form can learn Reversal, and the Midnight form can learn Foul Play and Throat Chop. And I can't forget about the signature Z move that's shared with all 3 when using Stone Edge, Splintered Storm Shards, which actually changes to the respective form's time of day in the animation, so that's a nice touch. All 3 Lycanroc forms can add a lot of variety for your team, and can be a great member of your team in any form. And while it couldn't make first or second, all 3 can take a solid 3rd place.
All your heart and soul, just give it all you got and shout it out, Alola.
Enjoy!
The final evolution of the Fire Starter Pokemon Litten, as well as the first starter Pokemon I picked for both Sun and Ultra Sun, Incineroar takes my number 2 spot. Now this Pokemon was a no-brainer for this list. In my case at least. For those who've seen the previous list, this shouldn't have been that much of a surprise. So let's get into why I like it so much. Obvious first, Fire type. Favorite type. Moving on. Next is not a fire fighting type despite looking as such, and has a neat motive of being based on wrestling. Now, let's get to the battle properties. In terms of stats, it has a high attack stat to really deal some damage against the opponent, but with the low speed, it probably won't be going first in battle. and while it has 4 weaknesses, it does resist 6 other types and is immune to Psychic thanks to the Dark typing. Now, let's move on to the attacks. From level up, we have moves like Bite, Double Kick, Fire Fang, Crotch Fire, Flamethrower, Lick, Thrash, Cross Chop, Flare Blitz, Outrage, and what used to be its signature moves, Throat Chop and Darkest Lariat. For TMs, we got moves like Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, Revenge, U-Turn, Assurance, Brick Break, Shadow Claw, Drain Punch, Acrobatics, Bulldoze, Brutal Swing, and Stomping Tantrum. There's also some tutor moves like Burning Jealousy, Lashed Out, Scorching Sands, Fire Pledge, and, of course, Blast Burn. And for TRs, there's moves like Earthquake, Leech Life, Reversal, Crunch, Heat Wave, Superpower, Blaze Kick, Close Combat, Iron Head, and Heat Crash. And I can't go without mentioning a signature Z move when used with Darkest Lariat, Malicious Moonsault. And it actually does double damage if the opponent uses Minimize. Incineroar is a great Pokemon to have in your team, and definitely a top favorite of mine, but one Pokemon beat it for first place. Before we get to number 1, here's some quick honorable mentions. Good starter Pokemon, and the one I used first for Ultra Moon, but I haven't used it enough beyond that to truly connect with it. And all the poison types from Team Skull didn't exactly help with using it in those areas. Pretty cool Pokemon, pun intended, and a nice twist on the original, but I haven't used it that much aside from the Battle Tree a few times. Good grass type on my team when I didn't have one, but it was only on one team, so honorable mention it is. Really cool and unique for being the only Ultra Beast to evolve. I never really used it that much to connect with it. Hilarious to look at, but its hilarity couldn't take it that far. Not bad in Pokemon Go, though. Really cool and really tough as Ultra Necrozma and Ultra Sun Ultra Moon, but I haven't really used it as part of my team. Great opposite legendary to Solgaleo, but I have my preference to the latter due to the fact that I played Sun first. However, it does get bonus points for being a great sync pair with Lily in Pokemon Masters EX.
All your heart and soul, just give it all you got and shout it out,
Pokemon said to be made to take down Ultra Beasts, as well as a signature Pokemon of Gladion, Silvally takes my number 1 spot. After getting Type Null and Sun, I knew that I wanted to evolve it right away to get this awesome legendary Pokemon on my team. And yes, it's classified as a legendary. It's one of the most unique Pokemon in the Gen 7 games, since you can only get 1 per game, excluding events. And it may be a normal type, but that's just its default form. Because thanks to the ability RKS System, it can change types based on the different memory discs it can hold. Want it to be a Dark type? You got it. Steel type? No problem. Want it to rampage as a demonic beast? Fairy type. And you don't really have to worry about stats because they're even across the board. Now, let's get to the attacks. From level up, we have moves like Double Hit, Crush Claw, Air Slash, Tri Attack, Crunch, X-Scissor, Aerial Ace, Iron Head, the Elemental Fang moves, plus Poison Fang, Explosion, and the signature move that can change typing to whatever memory Silvally is holding, Multi-Attack. For TMs, we got moves like Rock Slide, Steel Wing, U-Turn, Shadow Claw, Payback, Thunder Wave, and Giga Impact. There's also some tutor moves like Steel Beam, Terrain Pulse, Draco Meteor, and Grass Pledge. There's a glitch that prevents it from learning the other pledge moves. And for TRs, there's moves like Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Surf, Thunderbolt, Reversal, Shadow Ball, Heat Wave, Outrage, Zen Headbutt, Dragon Claw, Flash Cannon, and Psychic Fangs. With a moveset this diverse and any typing at your disposal, Silvally is one of the most customizable Pokemon to have on your team. It may take a while to evolve, but once it does, the sky's the limit. So it no doubt takes my #1 spot for all of Alola. And that's my list. Hope you enjoyed. Have a different opinion? Leave your list in the comments below. And until next time, Alola!